welcome to the stage the Master of Ceremonies, Penny Abeywarde.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so pleased to be your Master of Ceremonies today. And I want to take a moment to set the table for this afternoon and frame it using a soft power lens, a way of approaching local to global challenges I've been thinking and writing about for the past few years. Now, soft power, as opposed to the hard power of laws and incentives, originated in foreign policy. It's about attracting people toward the value and solutions you want, creating more affinity that we can then act on. Now, sometimes this is accomplished by creating or changing a norm, and sometimes it simply means reframing choices, what we call nudges. Sometimes it's about who gets a seat at the table or a voice at the podium. Now, partly driven by frustration with institutions, partly inspired by hope, people are turning to this approach, especially the young and the marginalized. So we are finding this far beyond the halls of diplomacy. In fact, it's being modernized and being used at the grassroots. Now, to give you one example, casting your vote is an exercise in hard power. It's an official act. But how many people around you are motivated to turn out and vote? How many seek to change the behavior of the public? Those are norms. That's soft power in action. Now, we have two big inflection points defining this year. The first is the fact that we have some 4 billion people voting in national elections. That's about 40% of humanity. And despite the burning issues that we are talking about, there is a surprising amount of ambivalence about voting at all. Global voter turnout has been drifting downward for decades. And so by the end of the year, we will have a much clearer picture of how soft power is being used or not being used to get people to vote. Now, the second inflection point is artificial intelligence. Is it a net positive force? That's our intuition. That's what we hear from most experts, but how can we manage its impact on our privacy, our jobs, our ability to make decisions? Now, roughly 95% of adults on the planet, the percentage of people who have a mobile phone, now have access to advanced AI in their palm. Now, that's astounding, yet so many people actually feel disempowered, like they're losing something. So here we have our paradox. We have all this knowledge and opportunity to participate, but the majority of us seem to be giving it away or letting it slip away. At a very basic level, this is a global renegotiation of how our power, our soft power, and our hard power will be used. This is a profound reassessment of potential and expectations. Some would argue the most profound ever. Government is one domain of power and expectations, the market is another. The third cuts across both of them, soft power. Again, what I mean by this is our culture, our norms, the tacit agreements about how we do things, the way we structure the choices that define our lives within countries and across countries. How do we motivate people when the traditional levers of power have failed? What tools can we use when people are so frustrated they just want to disconnect? The use of soft power has expanded dramatically. More than 200 nations around the world now have formal teams or departments to create nudges, slight changes in how we provide information or frame choices. These are being used to increase hand washing in Bangladesh, to stop cyberbullying in France and China. Now, these initiatives aren't perfect. They can be difficult to replicate across borders. They can be hard to measure. And of course, there are ethical issues, especially around transparency. And they can also be especially challenging when one is trying to change broader norms. Yet I want to suggest we have an obligation to look even further. How do we ensure those with the least power, whether they be women, minorities, those economically disadvantaged by institutions and systems, are heard and empowered? Good governance has helped them, but that has continued to fall short. Market-driven prosperity and technology have helped them, but they also continue to fall short. So now more than ever, people are turning to soft power to take the next step. Soft power is a toolbox that we are beginning to understand better than before. It is scalable. It builds durable solutions from the bottom up. It's a kind of people power, but with precision. So despite some of the doom and gloom we've been hearing around this UN General Assembly, I think we should all be quite optimistic. And I'm really excited to introduce this afternoon of events, and hopefully we'll all be able to identify the soft power strategies within these conversations.